I have been using the Insta360 X3 for 2 years now to create ski content, even before I partnered with them this season, and so I thought it was time to make a review of the camera to talk about all my honest thoughts when it comes to using this bad boy out on the mountain. Now, before we really dive into this camera, if at any point in this video you're saying to yourself, I need one of these cameras, then check out the link in my description to get 11% off the Insta360 X3, a free selfie stick, a free snow bundle, and a free Insta360 flask. In this video, I'm going to be talking about all the things I like about this camera first, and then at the end, we'll talk about a few of the drawbacks to the X3 and really just 360-degree cameras as a whole. So let's hop into the good things. It's probably obvious, but the best part of this camera is that it lets you shoot in 360 degrees and then reframe your shots later. This makes the X3 so stress-free to use. You just hit record and it never misses a thing. But shooting in 360 also opens up some really cool shots that just aren't possible on traditional cameras, such as the invisible selfie stick shot. Because this camera has two lenses, it's able to erase the selfie stick, giving you the ability to film yourself from a point of view that looks like somebody else is filming you. This makes solo days out on the hill so much more interesting for me, and I really love that style of shot. I've also discovered this drone style shot this season, where again, you use the invisible selfie stick, which you can't see, and you can get some crazy follow cams that look like you're flying an FPV drone out on the hill. This has been one of my favorite uses for the camera this season for sure. And then you're also able to reframe shots mid-clip, and what I mean by that is I'll be holding this camera out on the selfie stick and I'll be hitting rails myself while also following somebody into rails, and I'm able to reframe the shot to show myself hitting the rail and then them hitting the rail in front of me and then myself and back and forth, and it really opens the door for some super creative follow cams that again, other cameras just aren't able to do. Now, while all those shots are really cool and really creative and impossible to do on other cameras, my main use and my main desire for the X3 was actually for POV shots. The X3 is an action cam, and one of the main features of any action camera is POV shots from a helmet mount or a chest mount or something like that. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, the X3 is hands down the best camera I've ever used for POV shots. The 360-degree field of view is absolutely unbeatable when it comes to POV shots. You know, when you're filming POV, you don't need to be able to shoot behind you and capture the full 360-degree angle, but because you're shooting in 360, that field of view is massive, and you're able to capture so much more from a helmet cam than something like a GoPro. Being able to see my legs, my arms, my skis, as well as everything else around me and everything else I'm skiing towards or skiing on is so immersive. I don't think I could ever go back to a standard action cam for POV. This is my main use for the camera, and it absolutely does not disappoint. The other feature that's very common with pretty much any action camera nowadays is stabilization, and I don't know what wizardry Insta360 has added into this camera, but it is by far the best image stabilization I've ever seen in an action camera. The footage is always silky smooth, even when I know the camera is bouncing up and down a lot. Like right here, I hung it out of my car, and it's so smooth, it's unbelievable. So stabilization, super important for action cams, and the X3 gets a 10 out of 10 there for me. Okay, so a camera can have all this really cool functionality and all these really crazy shots that you're able to capture with it, but if it's hard to use, then that doesn't really matter. But the great thing about the X3 is the camera is very easy to use from the second you hit that power button. The menus make sense, the screen is large and clear, the UI is smooth, there's no glitching or freezing that's common with other action cameras like my old GoPro. While there are a ton of settings available to you, everything is made simple, and truly anybody can hop into this camera and quickly get started, even though it's a super powerful 360-degree device. Now, speaking of those many features and many options, this camera has an unbelievable amount of video and photo modes for you to try out as well. Aside from the standard 360-degree mode, you have things like me mode, which focuses selfie shots on yourself without the need to reframe it later. 360-degree time lapses and time shift modes, which are super interesting and I really enjoy using. This crazy bullet time mode, I mean, what? Active HDR video and photo, as well as a single lens mode if you have a shot that you know for a fact will not need the 360-degree field of view. So yeah, the X3 is jam-packed with features for all sorts of scenarios, and navigating those features is a breeze. Another important part of usability is battery life, and it's very important for me because I don't bring a backpack full of batteries out on the mountain with me, and when out in frigid temperatures, I need a camera that is going to last, and the X3 does. I have never experienced any battery issues with this camera at all, no matter how extreme the weather I'm in is. This camera is super reliable, and I'm always confident that it's going to do what I need it to do when I need it to do it, and that's really important. Editing 360 footage can be daunting, but the Insta360 mobile app and studio app that comes with the X3 is another massive win for the camera. They're both super easy to get familiar with and will have anybody, even somebody brand new to filmmaking, reframing shots like a pro in no time. I personally use the studio app for my computer for all of my reframing needs, and I have never had any complaints with it. Both the mobile and PC app include AI tracking to reframe shots automatically, and the mobile app includes some really cool pre-made effects to apply to your clips in the shot lab. Now, of course, there will be some downsides to this camera. Nothing is perfect out there, but these downsides are more so just downsides of 360-degree cameras as a whole and not really the X3 itself. The first drawback is, like I mentioned, 360 footage can be more difficult to edit than non-360-degree footage, but if you're buying a 360 camera, that's kind of just a given. Like I said, Insta360 provides you with a ton of great software to make this part of the process as painless as possible, but even still, there is more work needed here than your standard action camera, which is definitely something to be aware of before you buy one. Another drawback is that you are sacrificing image quality for image field of view. The X3 shoots in 5K 30 frames per second when in 360 mode, so when you reframe the footage, it's basically going to be 2K 30 frames per second. Reframed footage is not going to be 4K 120 FPS like a traditional action camera can shoot in, but again, that's just a given with any of the 360-degree cameras out there, so once again, this isn't a direct knock on the X3. Personally, I actually used to shoot in 2K on my traditional action cam anyway, so I've never been disappointed with the image quality. The only thing I really sacrificed is the ability to shoot slow motion shots, which I don't really do that often anyways, and now I get this insane field of view at the same time. Let's be honest, guys, if the next iteration of this camera can bring some higher resolution to the reframe footage and higher frames per second to that footage, it will legitimately be the only action camera you ever need, period. So after 2 years of using this camera, I think it's pretty obvious that I'm a fan. The X3 has been nothing but reliable, has been super easy to use, and the more I use it, the more I like it, and the more I feel like I unlock with this camera. If you're looking for the ultimate press record and worry about it later camera, this is the one for you. But at the same time, if you're looking to add a powerful camera capable of some pretty insane shots on top of being one of the best POV action cameras I've ever used, then this is also the camera for you. If you have any questions about the X3, please leave them down below and I'll be sure to answer them for you. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Peace.